Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a homemade gingerbread house completely from scratch. With today's recipe, you'll either be able to make one larger gingerbread house or two smaller mini houses. Now, before you begin, you're going to want to hop over to my blog. I'll make sure to include a link so you can print out the template. And again, you can either print out the mini template to make two houses or the regular size template to make one larger house, which is what I will be making today. If you have cardstock, it will be a little bit easier to work with a paper and cut out the shapes, but I just did this on, regular copy paper. So it's doable that way too. So cut out my shapes. You're also going to want to get your oven preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit because as soon as the dough is done, you can roll it out and put it in the oven. There's no chilling needed. So one thing I want to note before we begin is that when I was developing this dough, I did do it with taste in mind. I wanted the flavor to be edible and tasty. However, the most important thing was structure. We needed a sturdy cookie that would hold up, that you could build a house with. So if you're looking for a tasty cookie, head over to my gingerbread man recipe, which is specifically designed to be a softer, chewier cookie. This is great for a gingerbread house and it is edible, but I don't recommend making cookies out of it. With that out of the way, grab your large mixing bowl, and to it you're going to want to add a half cup or 1 stick of softened unsalted butter. We're also going to add a half cup of firmly packed dark brown sugar. Light brown sugar would work if you don't have dark brown. This is just going to make the gingerbread a little more spiced and a little bit darker in color. We're also going to add a half cup of molasses. You do want to use unsulphured molasses. It should say that right on the label. I'll go ahead and pour this in, and I'll use my spatula to scrape out as much of that as I can. We'll also add 1 large egg. Ideally, this should be room temperature. Ideally, you should also crack that in a separate bowl, but what can I say? Sometimes I'm a risk taker and I'm a little lazy. Next, you'll add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. All right, now let's add a whole bunch of spices, starting with 1½ teaspoons of ground ginger, 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a ½ teaspoon of salt. You could make today's recipe in a stand mixer. That would not be a problem, but today I'm just going to be using my electric hand mixer instead. Just going to cream these ingredients together until everything is well combined. You want to make sure the butter is nicely broken up and sort of creamed into the mixture, but you're probably going to notice that your mixture is a little bit piecey and might even look a little bit separated. That's fine, don't panic, very normal, and it will all come together once you add your flour. Okay. So just so you can see how this looks, scrape the bowl a little bit. It's not totally smooth and uniform. It looks like it's separating a little bit. Normal, don't panic. All right, speaking of flour, you're going to need 4 cups or 500 grams of all-purpose flour, and we're going to gradually stir this into our dough. Do this gradually because this dough is going to be super stiff. It's supposed to be super stiff. If you add all of that flour at once, it's going to be really dry and crumbly, and it's going to be a lot of work for you to work it into the dough. Let's add our last little bit of flour. And you can see the dough's pretty dry, but it is all going to come together. All right, we should be done with our mixer now. Let's scrape the bowl, make sure everything is nicely combined. Oh, a little pocket of flour, we'll work that in by hand since I ambitiously discarded my beaters. And this looks perfect. So now I'm just going to quickly clean off my surface and we're going to roll it out. Once you have a clean surface, we're just going to lightly dust this with a little bit of flour. Now we'll turn the dough onto our surface. And before we start rolling out the dough, what you're going to want to do is form it into a ball or a disc. You want a nice cohesive dough that is clinging to itself. This is going to give you the best results and the smoothest outside edge on your house. Now, I actually prefer to work with just half the dough at a time, because when I do this, I don't have to re-roll the dough as much as I would if I rolled it all out at once. And the more you re-roll the dough, the more ragged and bumpy it looks, the more prone it is to getting air bubbles in it. So I would recommend you divide yours in half and do the same thing. All right, this is looking pretty nice. Roll this out to be 1/4 inch thick. And periodically as I roll it, I'm just going to use my spatula to scrape underneath it and just make sure it isn't sticking. If it is sticking, I'll just dust a little bit more flour underneath. If you have a lot of flour on the surface of yours, you should just be able to brush it off by hand, or if it's being stubborn, you can always just use a pastry brush to brush it off. That usually works pretty well too. All right, let's go ahead and cut out our shapes. I'm going to start with my front and my back. And I want to get as much out of this roll as I can, so let's see what else I can fit on here. Probably nothing. All right, looks like that's all I'm going to be able to get. So I just very gently press my cutouts on the surface of the dough, and then you can use a sharp knife, or I'm just going to use my bench scraper to cut out around the shape. Of course, make sure you take your template off before you bake your gingerbread house. Ta-da! And then we will carefully move these over to a parchment paper lined baking sheet. I try to bake the similar sized pieces together, that way they bake evenly. When you get to baking your chimney, I highly recommend setting a short timer for only about 5 or 6 minutes, pulling the chimney out carefully, letting it cool in a cooling rack, and then continuing to cook the rest of the items on your tray. Otherwise, your chimney is going to burn and your other pieces will be underdone. This will need to bake in the oven for about 13 minutes. Look for the edges to be beginning to turn a slightly deeper brown. And while those are baking, we will work with our second half of the dough and roll out some more shapes. Save these scraps because you are going to need to re-roll your scraps in order to get all of your shapes. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my chimney just because I can right now, even though I'm not going to bake it just yet. This one's a little small, so I'll cut it. I am going to get this in just 2 cuts. Never done this before. Look at that, looks like we won't have to do another re-roll after all. Now, depending on exactly how thick you make your gingerbread, you may have a little bit of dough left over. If you have some gingerbread man cookie cutters or Christmas tree cookie cutters, use the dough to cut out a few of those and add them to your gingerbread neighborhood. Peel off your template carefully just in case it's stuck. All right, I'll bake these as well, and don't forget, pull your chimney out early or it will be a black chimney. So these are nicely baked. You can see we have a little bit of darkening happening around the edges. We are going to let these cool completely, as well as the other pieces, before we decorate the gingerbread house. While your gingerbread house pieces are cooling, we can go ahead and prepare our royal icing. Now you can do this with a hand mixer, but it is a lot of work. It takes a long time, and I sometimes worry I'm gonna burn out my motor. So if you have a stand mixer, I really recommend using one. Also, a lot of you have been asking me for a long time to please finally use my stand mixer. So today, we are. So I have this fitted with my whisk attachment, and then in my mixing bowl, I'm going to add 5 cups of powdered sugar. Let's take this off, it's just in the way right now. Nice little cloud of powdered sugar swirling around. Next, we will add 2½ tablespoons of meringue powder and 6 tablespoons of water. It's going to drizzle this over everything, and then I am going to mix this on low speed just until these things are combined. And once those ingredients are pretty well combined, I'll add a teaspoon of vanilla extract for flavor. Again, if you're not going to be eating this, you don't have to add the vanilla. Then I'll gradually turn my mixer speed up to high, and I'm going to beat this until I have a nice, thick royal icing. It should have stiff peaks. I'll show you exactly what it looks like in just a moment. All right, after about 5 minutes of high-speed mixing, let's take a look. And we have a nice, stiff, thick frosting. This is going to be great as the cement for our gingerbread house. Very thick, very stiff. All right, now you can color this. You can put it in any piping bag with whatever kind of tip you want. I'm going to do a little bit of red and a little bit of green food coloring. I like to use my Americolor gel food coloring, so they work really well with this. So I'm gonna divide it, do a little bit of coloring, and then we can start decorating our house. Now, I do want to note that both the gingerbread house pieces and the icing can be made in advance. If you want to make the pieces, just store them in an airtight container at room temperature. They will keep for days or longer than a week even. And the frosting will also keep for a week or longer, especially if you're not planning on actually eating it. You'll just want to put it in an airtight container and put a piece of plastic wrap directly against the surface and then close that container. All right, really quickly, I'm going to walk you through assembling the gingerbread house. And because I think I'll probably get a couple questions on it, I'll show you just a few of the techniques I did with my house. But really, there's no wrong way to do this. Assemble it however you'd like. I just want to show you a couple tips and tricks. The first one being that if you're trying to be fancy and do really nice, intricate designs on your house, especially the front of your house, take this piece and go ahead and decorate it flat before you've attached it to your house. Let that dry and then go ahead and assemble your pieces. That works a lot better for me. We won't be doing that today though. We're just going to get this house put together, and then I have an almost 4-year-old who has been begging to help me, so he'll be making an appearance, I think. Now pick a place to assemble your house. I am just using one of these cardboard cake trays. You can do a serving platter. If you don't have a specific place, I recommend taking a piece of wax paper and assembling your gingerbread house on the wax paper. Once it's hardened completely, you can peel that wax paper right off and put the house wherever you want to. I don't really use piping tips for decorating these. You can, but the house I showed you in the beginning was 99% decorated without a piping tip. Remember, your side pieces are the smaller pieces, and you can see mine are not completely even. They're still going to work just fine. The great thing about royal icing is it dries super fast. So you can see I just put these together, and structurally they're not super sound, but they're going to hold while I'm decorating the house or while I'm assembling the house. Not make my line far enough back. Let's do our roof. Once these things are assembled, they will keep forever. For the wreath I did not use a piping tip. I just put my icing in a piping bag and snipped a really small bit off the end. This is very awkward to do on camera, by the way. So if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just basically using this small tip, and I make like 3 leaves. I did a north, south, east, and west, and then I just fill it in all the way around. My sister taught me this. I tried to get her to get on camera and do the wreath, but she wouldn't. Also, the wreath is not a perfect circle. Not my best wreath, but I just wanted you to see real quickly how I do it. And then I snip a super tiny hole in my red piping bag. And once that wreath is dried, then I'll do just a couple of dots for berries. The only other thing I wanted to show you how I do it is the roof. I will snip like a dime-sized hole in my piping bag. This was a really abrupt entry, but my gingerbread house decorator has arrived.
Hi.
So for the snowy roof, I just do a large dollop and then sort of drag it up. You can see I sort of changed directions as I was going. I wanted this to be a little bit more windswept. I am not a gingerbread house decorator. The one I showed you in the beginning took a lot of work for me to get it to look decent. And I just haven't added my chimney because I wait until I do the icing on the roof, and then you just plop that in. And the last thing I wanted to mention is I love this clear, it's a sparkling white granulated sugar. Yes, you can put it on top, and it makes your white icing look like snow. You have to add it quickly though because the royal icing dries fast. Oh, that's plenty. We are gonna need a vacuum here. Good job. We definitely waited too long to add that sugar. Don't make our mistake. All right, we're just gonna kind of have fun with this one, but as you can see, you can do it in your own home, however you want, and I'll make sure to show you the finished product when Luke and I are finished. You're doing a great job. It's always fun when you get the kids involved, right? You really have to give up some of that creative control.
Me too.
You too?
Yeah. Wait, you want to decorate? I'm sure you can help decorate.
So sweet, Luke. Now we can't forget our chimney. This has been important to you.
Can I do it?
Yeah. Good job.
Let you do that.
Here's some snowflakes for you, Rhett. Make sure you get this side. Okay, Rhett, you do that side. And that is how you make a gingerbread house from scratch at home. I hope you enjoyed this one and have as much fun in your own kitchen as I have in mine. What color?
Yellow.
It is yellow. Thank you so much for watching. If you tried at home, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I really do always love hearing from you. Thanks again for watching.
Yeah, see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Next time.
What do you think, Rhett? Let's show the camera your house. How's it look? What do you think, guys? All right, we're just gonna have a little bit of fun. Is Luke doing a good job?
Yeah.
What are you wearing? You know it's winter, right? Who put this shirt on you?
Daddy.
Daddy did?
Yeah, good.
This is a good December shirt. The dog, the cat. Should we take a bite? Oh, you already did.